I used to do drugs. I used to do all kind of stuff. I had a committed relationship with cocaine, and I just done a lot of things in my life, right? I fled my life. My mom passed in February of 1987. I was 23. From that moment, whatever I was doing just escalated. And I just woke up and I said, you know what? If you don't make a change, you're going to die. I had like no money. I probably had $40 for the trip. And God just worked everything out. I made a pact with God and I said, if you let me come out of this, I'll never go back. I let him when I got there, and that was kind of the best thing that ever happened. But he is my connection to Panama. The Black Expats in Panama Facebook group is so successful because we don't care about numbers. We care about quality. We care about like-minded people. And we want our page to be positive, and we take the time to vet. We did in 2024, we just about hit 7 figures in sales.
With every new journey, our hearts will sing passports of purpose, let the freedom ring.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? So today we're talking to someone who has maximized her potential. She is Charlotte Van Horn. She's the founder of the Black Expats in Panama. And that's what she's doing now. But she has a fascinating and a compelling story that we're going to share with you. So, Charlotte, thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
Listen, I am doing wonderful, and I am just so happy to be here with such a celebrity. You're such a celebrity.
No. You are the celebrity. and that's the thing. You've actually been in entertainment. I didn't know that, because sometimes you hear somebody in story and you hear, okay, this is what she's doing now. But before you started doing travel and tourism and introducing people to Panama, you have a history in comedy and theater and all of that. So tell me who Charlotte Van Horn is and how you got started. Just take me through the years.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for having me on, Jay. And I always start with Jersey Girl. I am a Jersey girl. I am a mom, a wife, a nana, and I am the founder of Black Expats in Panama. And I think that for me, I come from a really small town in Jersey, really small town. I can remember I come from a small town called Glassboro.
Glassboro,
And
okay.
it's usually one of them towns where you have to say, I'm from Glassboro. It's like a half hour from Philly, a half hour from Atlantic City, so that anybody could just put any kind of context because it's not just, it's not very popular. Glassboro State put Glassboro on the map in modern day history, and then they became Rowan University afterwards. But I was raised there, very rural, small town. And I'm very happy and grateful that I was raised there. I would never want to raise my kid there, but I think that I was able to experience a neighborhood that was a family. Like nowadays, to live in a neighborhood where all your friends' moms went to school with your mom, where all your friends, your moms and your dads, they all know each other, as opposed to society now where it's like, I don't know his mama. I don't know her mother. Your kids can't go, you can't go spend a night nowhere because I don't know them people. So I grew up in a place, and I'm really proud that I grew up in a place where people could tell who I was by my nose. You know what I'm saying? They like, that's a Hickenbottom nose. I don't know what her name is, but she Hickenbottom. I can tell you
Okay,
that.
so that's how everybody was identified. Okay.
That's one of Charlotte's babies. And unfortunately, nowadays they talk about, saying things to children like you bad. Well, I mean, bad was my middle name. Okay. And everybody just knew me as the bad one. I learned to cuss very early in life. And I mean, I could put them together, baby. I could cuss you out good. I could cuss you out like I was a grown woman when I was 6. But I must have been hearing it somewhere. But anyway, that was kind of like my beginning. I ended up in Panama. To fast forward to Panama, I ended up in Panama. Love brought me to Panama because my husband is Panamanian, and I met him in. I was running away from my life, and I moved to Mississippi to get away from my life. I was, and I ran into him, and it was well, kind of one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life. Because I was a wild one, honey. I was that
I was
one.
going back. You thought you were going to fast forward, but I was going to rewind.
Well, I met him when I got there, and that was kind of the best thing that ever happened. But he is my connection to Panama. Um, just, I mean, a lot of stuff in between. He had two children, and I had one, and we just got together. Eventually, our children would have children on the same day
Oh,
at the
wow.
same time,
Okay.
only a time zone of an hour apart, and and on our anniversary. So our story just evolves, and I don't know. You got to tell me where to start because I could just
Well, I'm
be
gonna
going
rewind it.
on and
I'm gonna rewind it because you gave it you know how we tell stories. we,
yes,
we think we get to the good stuff. All right. So you said that you were 6 years old, cussing.
and Preston.
Because similar situation happened to me. I went to first grade. My mother came home and I was dropping all of them. All of them. She was like, "Now wait a minute." She said, "Now I know he didn't hear this from me, but I was hearing it from somewhere, so I get it."
Right.
And that was really the beginnings of the wild side. So when you say you were the wild one, talk about who was wild Charlotte.
Well, growing up, I was the baby in the family. I still am. The baby in the family, you know how the baby in the family is. The baby in the family is like, it's all about me,
Yes.
whatever. You know what I'm saying? I was the one who would I mean, I was the one that would speak my mind, always. I was always the one that if I really wanted to try it, I was really willing to get that ass whooping. I was just willing to take one for the team because I had to know. And from a very early age, I never said I didn't know why I did things. And it was something I never allowed my daughter to say. I'm like, if you don't know why you're doing things, we need some counseling or something. And if it's just because I wanted to do it and if it seemed like a good idea at the time,
At a time. At a time.
that
Yeah.
was kind of me. That was kind of me. Um, I grew up in a single parent household. As a matter of fact, my mother left my father when I was 1 year old, and they had five babies together in 5 years. My mom started having babies at 17, and she had me at 22. And
Mm.
when she was in the hospital, they said, "What you want to name this one, Charlotte?" They said, "You got to name her." She had been in the hospital a couple of days and she still hadn't named me. She probably hated me silently because I weighed 9 pounds, 12 ounces.
Ooh.
And she said, "I know, I know." And back then everything was al natural.
Oof.
Um, and so finally they said, "Charlotte, you're going home. You got to name this baby." And my mom said, just call her Charlotte. And my mom's name was Charlotte. So she named her last child Charlotte. And thankfully, she didn't give me her second name, which was Evelyn. But she named me Charlotte Ann. So I was Charlotte Ann for a long time until we moved to Glassboro, New Jersey. When I moved to Glassboro, New Jersey from Clayton, New Jersey, because my mom left my father stole. My father was, for all intents and purposes, a bad person. Maybe not in his heart, but his behavior was bad.
Got it.
And this, we talked about it. I even talked to him about it. He came home one day with a washer and dryer from my mother. They owned a house, they had actually bought a house together in town Clayton, New Jersey, which was very white at the time, and they experienced racism and stuff like that. But they had managed to buy this house, right? And my father came home one day with a washer and dryer for my mother because my mother washed all our clothes by hands. And remember, she had kids from 5 to 1 at that point,
Mm.
from ages 5 to 1, and five of us. And he stole the washer and dryer from a Sears truck. Him and some of his homeboys, they robbed the Sears truck.
Worked it
And
out.
I even got the story from him. He was so proud to present it to her because he said it used to break his heart to watch her washing these clothes by hand and then hanging them up on the line. And in New Jersey, I still remember her doing it. New Jersey, your clothes would freeze, and then she'd come in and thaw them out, and that was just what mommy did. But she refused to use the washer and dryer. I swear, I don't think my mother ever broke a law in her life. All my
Mm,
lawlessness I got from my daddy, and I know I
okay.
did. Uh-huh.
Okay.
So she just decided at 23 years old that he wasn't he couldn't be around her kids, and she left him and with no job. I mean, I don't know if she had a job, but she had a 10th grade education, and she just struck out on her own with her 5 kids, and she is definitely the biggest hero. I gotta watch talking about my mom because sometimes I get emotional.
Hey,
She is like
all
the
right.
biggest hero of my life.
It sounds like it because to be that young and to have 5 children is, I mean, her story. I wish we could get her story because for her to have the wherewithal to say, okay, there's a certain standard I want for my children, and I don't want this, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure they have the very best. And and I've heard stories. My aunt, she's 87 now, almost 88, and she talked about how when she was 14, she had her first child, and so during that time, that era, it was common. I've had many of my aunts in their 80s, into their 90s. They would tell me, you know what, I dropped out of school because I got pregnant, and that was a common theme. It was you know they didn't talk about it when we were growing up so much. It was like when they got in their elder years, that's when they started saying, okay, here's the real deal. And so, did you ever get a chance to talk to your mother about the real deal and all of what she saw and experienced?
Jay, you just said something that it never did occur to me. I've always known that mommy went to 10th grade. Okay. But I never really put together it was because she was probably pregnant that she didn't finish.
Yeah.
That just now clicked for me. Um, Mom was just the type that she was just, I mean, she never really complained. She was just a doer. She was just amazing. Like when I started my radio show, Black Tip Radio, when I was on blacktip.radio.com, the whole thing was to build my show around mommy. And like even some of the oldies, I always play like when I interview people, I say, what's your favorite oldies, like between the 70s and 80s? The thing that connects me to my mother is the music. Because back when she died in 1987, there was no internet. There was no everything I do is on video. I never heard her
Yeah.
voice again. Once she was gone, she was gone, And but mommy was so dope. It was like when we moved to Glassboro, um, and that's where we ended up. That's where I spent most of my formative years. We moved from another small town, and I just can remember we went to this house and it was just this big old house on the corner. And it was a mess. It was a hot mess. We went in there, mommy showed us around, and somebody took some wallpaper. Remember wallpaper? The
I
wallpaper
remember
used to be
wallpaper
on
and
the
paneling
table. I mean on
and
the
paneling.
walls. Somebody pulled the wallpaper down or something, and roaches just came from everywhere.
Along the
And
crack,
I
where you pull that
swear,
crack, that's where they are. That's where they.
that was it. That was it. And when that happened, it was almost like that scene from Color Purple. Get my children out of here. Mommy sent us off. And as a matter of fact, I think my aunt and my uncle kept us for, I don't know, for a week or 2 weeks maybe. I really don't remember. I was about 5 or 6 at the time. And but I just can remember that. And I can remember going away. And I can
Mhm.
remember coming back, and my mom had put that house together. My goodness, she was amazing. My mom could paint. My mom put a panel in. My mom was an artist, so she drew things on the wall. And we
Mm.
never had a lot, Jay, but it never felt like we didn't have a lot. And as ugly as the house was on the outside, it even had the nerve to have a burn on the top, like on the little arch. Like it had
Yes.
caught fire, but somebody caught it before the house like totally burned down. But they didn't bother replacing the shingles. So it had these ugly old burn on the house. And I would tell people, come on, come in, because I wanted them to see. Our house was laid. My mom would just put stuff together, and we were poor,
What year
but
was
we
your mother
never
born?
knew it.
What year was she born?
1941 or 42.
Okay, 41. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. And she could put it together. And she took such good care of us. And I always wanted, and I don't know why all this is about mommy, but I always wondered, how do you love that much? Because she had five babies, and everybody have their own personalities, and you have your
Yeah.
own relationship, with your kids. I have one child that I gave birth to, and so I just can't imagine loving anything more than I love her. And it's so funny because when you only have one child, you wonder to yourself, how do you spread that love? How do you spread that love around to more than one child, and then not let the other child know that I really do like this one a little bit better, or I really do have like greater aspirations for this one? Because I know sometimes parents probably feel that way. But honestly, whatever was in my mom's heart or whatever was in her mind when it came to us, I never knew. I
Hmm.
just felt like amazingly she loved us all the same. And she invested in me when it came to my gymnastics. When it came to, I went to the different things that I did. I was the baby, so I got a little bit more towards the end of my high school years and things like that. And that my older brothers and sisters would be like, "Why? Why, mommy? You would have killed us if we did this or that or
Yeah.
whatever."
She probably
But
matured a little
she
bit.
was
That's
tired.
probably
She was
yeah.
tired. She was worn out probably at
Okay.
that point. But okay. So yeah, that's kind of like my a little bit about me growing up in Glassboro. And one more interesting thing about Glassboro is that I got the name Cheyenne. I remember it like I was about 6 when we moved there, and first person I met was Wanda Rowe. And Wanda came from a family of 14 children. We had five. The Rose had 14. And she said, "What's your name?" And I said, "I'm Charlotte Ann," because back then I was Charlotte Ann. Everybody used my first and last name. I'm Charlotte Ann. She said, "Charlotte Ann." She said, "That's too much." And I just can remember her saying, "I'm gonna call you Cheyenne."
Hmm.
And I don't know whether it's because Wanda was my first person I met and she introduced me to everybody. Cheyenne stuck. I've been called that since I was 6. And you could be around like people that I've known for a long time, and you'll never hear them call me Charlotte. But when I got my name, I got my nickname in Glassboro.
Okay. Now in Glassboro, I'm sure you're growing up. You're the youngest of five in a single parent household. But you said something earlier about you were running from your life and you went to Mississippi. What did you mean when you said you were running from your life?
As I got older, I was grown. Okay, I was grown. All my friends were in college. By the time I was 15, it was like, I mean, the kids in high school,
You
no, I
were
just
already
didn't really
22.
have it. They wasn't ready. They wasn't ready. And so I started to, at 15, probably was when I started to get into grown up things. And I used to do drugs. I used to do all kind of stuff. And by the time but I always had, and I think we might have mentioned this before, as crazy as it is, no matter what point I've been in my life, I've always been super, super confident about who I was. You know what I'm saying? Even in my darkest, ugliest moments, I was like, well, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
But I think that by the time I fled my life, was my mom had passed. My mom passed in February of 1987. I was 23.
Hmm.
And basically, from that moment, whatever I was doing just escalated, and it was like, come to find out, in hindsight, all of us were going through different things as far as my siblings, but we just didn't know. We just didn't know about grief counseling and
Yeah.
the things that we may have needed and the help that we may have needed to get it. We were all kids. You know, I
Yeah.
I was I was the youngest at 23, and my oldest sister was 28. And so we were all still finding ourselves and everything like that. So my things that I was doing escalated. And I just was just my life was going nowhere. And I always had, the only people that knew my life was in a mess was the people that life was in a mess with me because I
I
always kept
understand.
a job. Always kept a job, stayed looking good, baby. I don't care what was going on. Stayed looking good. My baby was always straight. My baby was always in a good school. We always lived in a nice place, except for a couple moments. But, I
So you were
was,
a young mom. You were a young mom.
oh, yes, I had my daughter at 21,
Okay.
around the same age that my mom had me.
Okay.
Yes, but I never did have no more. And that was the last advice my mom gave me.
So
Don't
that's
have
it.
no more. I ain't had no more kids. That was it. But at that point, I just feel like my life had escalated. Like I was just hurt. I was just grieving, and I just decided to make a move. Karen, my best friend forever and ever. We've been best friends over 45 years. And I don't know if she knew instinctively that I was going through something because I didn't even tell her. She was away. She was in the military. And
Mm,
it's very easy. You get very good at keeping stuff from people. You know what I mean? You think you do anyway. You think
mm,
you're very good at keeping stuff from people. But she always was kept telling me, I guess she felt that she could sense that I was sad, had something going on. And she said, why don't you come out here in Mississippi? I said, oh, girl, I'm in Mississippi. I said, I will be strange fruit with my mouth. I said, the Mississippi people will kill me. And then I just woke up and I said, you know what? If you don't make a change, you're going to die here. You're going to
mm.
die. And I told her, I surprised her. I said, I got a ticket. I got a train ticket to Mississippi. She was leaving for 3 months to go to Italy. And she had told me, she said, girl, you know how you do. You could come here. She said, while I'm going to Italy, I still got to pay for my apartment. I still got to pay for my car. You can come here. You and Sade you can get yourself together. And you know how you do. You'll have a job and an apartment by the time I get back. And I just decided to say yes. And I
Mhm.
bought the ticket. Sade and I moved to Mississippi. Um, and we moved to Mississippi. We took a train, and we had a Foot Locker from Kmart, cost $17.88 too. Two Foot Locker for her and one for me. I remember having two at some point, but I had like no money. I probably had $40 for the trip,
Okay.
and God just worked everything out. And one of the first people that I met when I got to Mississippi was Alfredo.
Wow.
Um, that was in 1993. Um, I I made a pact with God, and I said, I said, if you let me come out of this, I'll never go back. And he did,
Mm.
and that's sad.
But that's really powerful. I'm gonna tell you why it's powerful because again, when it comes to the social media streets, they will see someone in their present moment. They'll feel their energy and they'll say, there's something different about you. How did where do you get this confidence from? How did you build this business? What is it? And they don't know the backstory. They don't know that you were, running from your life or really trying to establish yourself and then going to Mississippi. And that's where you met Alfredo, so it's that part of it. And then being a young mother of a young mother, those things. Oh, and then being a baby of five whose father was wild, so so all these pieces of the puzzle come together and it's like an interesting I think it's like a puzzle. You see the pieces of the puzzle and then you see the
Hmm.
evolution and how and of course that was 30 over 30 some odd years ago now, so
Yeah,
there's still
yeah.
something going. So you met Alfredo then.
Mhm.
You're raising your daughter in Mississippi. So what are let's fill in some of the blanks between then and now, so as far as how you became who you are today.
Well, I think that one of the things that I've never been is afraid. You know what I'm saying? Afraid. I'm scared of a lizard. I am a, I don't like to say that. I don't like lizards. You
Lizards.
know, lizards, geckos can put me in a different posture, let's just say. But when it comes to taking chances in life, I'm very courageous. I am very, very courageous. I have been an entrepreneur in some way, shape, or form my entire life.
Mm,
Not even realizing that my mother was an entrepreneur until a long time later in my life. I don't even remember when it was that I learned the term entrepreneur. So I think that all of these experiences, I think that everything that we do in life is just like stuff that's in the pot. It's
yeah.
in the pot, and we stir it up and we put it all together, and it makes what it makes. It makes my life different from yours. It makes my life what's so unique. I might have had a little bit more of this than your life. So my recipe is going to be a little bit different. And
Right.
I just think I just came up with that one. That shit was good too,
Yeah, I
what
like
Big
that.
J.
Yeah. Yeah. See that? See that? That's how conversations bring out all this creativity.
I must be this yellow. Um, but um, I think that meeting Alfredo was a big piece in my life because God made sure that I did not meet anyone who was going to take me back or participate in any of the foolishness I might introduce to the relationship. And Alfredo was the one. I swear to you, he was the one. When I met this guy, he was like talking about his friend. Now I'm somebody that was like had a committed relationship with cocaine. And I just done a lot of things in my life, right?
When we come back, the conversation continues. But first, a special message from one of our sponsors. Maximum Impact Travel celebrates the rich history and culture of the African diaspora, connecting travelers to Africa, the Americas, the Caribbean, and Europe. Through carefully curated tours, they showcase the people, traditions, and hidden treasures of these regions, offering unforgettable journeys that honor the beauty and legacy of the African diaspora.
And he said to me one day, he's talking about his friend. He's like, I'm not going over to his house no more. And he said, I said, why? What happened? He was like, they was doing dope. I was like, no, because for me, dope was heroin. Anything less
Hmm.
than heroin when you was just getting high. You know what I'm saying? But dope for me was like that. That was my break point. Heroin ain't never ever been an option for me. And he was talking about marijuana. I say they had reef.
Listen to the terms you're using now. So, see, reefer,
Just tell you,
that,
reefer,
that, reefer,
reefer. That I know that dates me, right?
reefer. A lot of folks don't
Reefer,
know what reefer is. They're like, reefer.
reefer. That would be marijuana.
Yeah, they go grass, grass. They go another one.
Okay, oh, it was reefer. It was reefer. It was gungy. It was, oh look, they just call it homegrown, whatever. Um, it was reefer, and I thought to myself, gosh, he thinks that's dope, right? So that is the extreme that God took me to with regard to a partner.
Mm.
There was never going to be a time when he told me that, I was like, literally, I was sticking to my promise to God at that point, and I have stuck to it ever since. And but when he told me that, I said, yeah, he the one. He is the one. Because there is no way in the world I'm gonna be slipping and dipping and skinning and jiving with this brother because he's gonna be like, wait a minute, what is going on? He's not gonna be with it. So he was just it was a blessing that when I got to Mississippi, I met him. I met him in a drugstore. Um, and I just feel like, I don't know, I always say that I just don't feel like he was in love with me ever. I mean, I really don't. I think that he liked me. And one time, you want to hear a funny story?
Sure.
Okay. So when I met him, I was just like, oh my God. When I first saw him, I met him at the drugstore. I've never seen my husband look worse ever in all the 30 something years that we've been together. He looked a hot mess that day. And that was the day that I met him. But even though I was fine, I was never ever super critical about the way people look. And so he seemed like a nice guy. And when I let him come over, I mean, I looked out the peephole. That brother had cleaned up. He had on a color's hat, little matching denim jacket, and denim pants, and little French cut jeans, baby, with his little desert boots. And hey, look at you. And Alfredo was that person. I was crazy about him, but I ended up being crazy about him. But I don't think he liked me as much. And I think he was respected what I was doing, because he always liked that scraper story. But so one time he went to his ex-wife's house during the holiday. This was like right after we had met. We had met in November, and then he went in December from Mississippi. He lived right across the street, down the street from me in Mississippi, and he went to his ex-wife's house for Christmas. And his ex-wife and her husband were going on a vacation, and he was staying there with his daughters. He drove to Texas to stay. He was always been a good father. It's one of the things I've always found very sexy about him. And he went there, and I was just thinking, hey, well, I just can't see me doing that with Sade's father, my daughter's
Right.
father.
Gotcha.
But whatever, that's good. But when he came back. I remember he drove. He came back and he stopped by my apartment, and I was so glad that he was back. And he stopped through and then he left, and I just thought we would, of course, spend the next. And we didn't. He didn't call me. Okay, he just didn't call me. He didn't come by or nothing. So I walk over because his place was so close. I could walk over. I walk over to his place, and I see his car. I see his TV on in his apartment, but there's no answer. Okay, so no biggie. I go back to the apartment. I did this all day. I had sent Sade to a babysitter because I knew we was just gonna kick it, because my man was back. Blah blah blah. Listen, he didn't. I did that all day. I was so upset inside. I was just beside myself. I couldn't think of anything else. Like, why is he not available for me at this moment? And I remember I was 29.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
make a long story short, I did this all day and he wasn't there. Finally, I said, forget him, forget him. I got cute. I went down to a little bar called Elaine's, figured I'd go kick it and whatever. I still couldn't get it off my mind. So I came back, went over to his house, but I walk over there, he still wasn't there. So I said, forget him, forget him. I got in my pajamas that said relax. It literally had big letters of diagonal said relax. It was just like this big t-shirt pajama said relax. It got so bad I couldn't relax, Jay. And I went over to his house. Now I'm not cute. I'm in my pajamas. But I couldn't stop myself from going over there. And I went over there and he was there. He opened the door. And he said, what's up, sister? There was late, standing there with my pajamas on. So I came in and I said, like, what's up? I thought that we would get together today. And he was sitting there and he looked at me and he said, look, he said, I think you like me more than I like you.
Oh wow. Oh
Yes, he
wow.
did. And I said to him, I said, wow, okay. Now you gotta know I'm sitting there in my pajamas looking real thirsty, right?
Yeah.
So I said, well, you know what? That really hurts my feelings. However, I appreciate you being truthful with me because that's guys don't usually do that. They
No, they
would
would have.
string you along
Yeah,
forever.
yeah,
They would
yeah.
just not take your call or whatever. He was like, look, girl, you need to back up, pump the brakes because I'm not that into you. And say this that from that day forward, my whole mind shifted when it came to him, and I never chased him, no other man ever again. When we decided to become friends again, it was certainly not because I initiated that.
Hmm.
But I just appreciated that, and he would do nice things for me. Um, we ended up just being together. I don't know. That could be a long story. I'm so sorry.
Well, no, no, no. I mean, I think it's good because again, I mean, seeing how you all flow now,
Hmm.
30 some odd years later, clearly something worked out. Now tell me how you ended up going into entertainment, because you told me you were a comedian and you were, I guess, into acting and all of that. How did that evolve?
I've always had a sense of humor. And literally, when I graduated from high school, I thought I wanted to be an actor. I was auditioning for Mason Gross, Rutgers University Mason Gross Division. I was a senior, and I wasn't serious. I had played spoons the night before. I forgot my lines, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, well, acting is not for me. That's when I was 18. And in 2010, I went on a Carnival cruise with my daughter, her first husband, and Alfredo. And there was an artist, there was a comedian on board. His name was Al Ernst. And he said, look at here. Um, if your friends tell you you're funny, if you've ever thought about doing stand up, he said, I just want you to meet me in the piano bar at whatever time tomorrow. And decided to go. And when I went there, he was like, listen, okay, so here's the deal. It was like 30 something people there. He's like, here's the deal. If you want to do 3 minutes on a open mic, just, meet me at this place tonight. He talked about his experience becoming a comedian, the guidelines for the 3 minutes that you would spend and everything. And I just decided to do it. And it's just so funny how I had never done stand up or thought about doing stand up really, but I instinctively knew what to do. I wrote jokes. I wrote a few jokes, and I wrote a few jokes that could relate to the people on the ship. I wrote jokes about being on the ship. And and it did really well. When we got there was 30 people in the meeting, and there was like 8 people that showed up
Uh,
in at the open mic. And everybody was just amazed that I had never done that before, to the point where he asked me to open a show for him in DC.
hmm.
He did it. The guy, Al Ernst, my first professional, experience was at Windows over DC.
Okay.
I think it's in Crystal City or Arlington.
Okay. Okay.
And that's how I got started doing that. And when people, I had a video of the experience, like of the stand up that I did on the trip, and people were stopping me the whole time, like, oh my God, I couldn't believe that was your first time and everything. But then everybody got, when I shared it, people started saying, girl, I'm doing that. Can you do that at my party here? Or can you do that for this women's thing? And I'm like, okay, okay. And then finally somebody said, what do you charge? And I'm like, I really hadn't thought about charging. And so I started charging for it. And that's when I went professional. And when I went professional, I said, I need to bring value to what I'm doing. So I took classes at DC Improv.
Okay.
So I did some improvisational. Yeah,
Improvisation. Yeah. 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 You got it.
I did that. I took a 6 week course there. I took a course under Tasha Smith. Um, for acting and just to bring value. And really, Jay, I had so much work, and it became stressful for me because I was
Okay.
unable to, I always had to write something specific for the audience. And so I have a
Yes.
ton of stuff, but I just never really got the hang of a set, where you just do the set over and over again. It felt
Okay.
fake. I don't know. I never got that. And it just became, your nerves are bad. People think they see us out here doing this, and they
Yeah.
think that it's easy and it's easy for us. And I don't know about you. I shouldn't speak for you, but I know for me, it's not. And even before getting on this call with you, I have butterflies in my stomach. As much as I do this, I still do. And
Well, that
and
keeps you
it got
true.
to
That
the
keeps you true to the game. Having
is that
some,
what it is?
yeah, it's having some nerves, because if you get too cocky with it, then you kind of disconnect from that authenticity. If it's just like, then it
Yes.
becomes autopilot.
Never was autopilot for me, but it kept me writing jokes. So that's good. I got a whole book of them. I need to revisit them at some point. But at some point, it became a little bit taxing. I was still working at the firm in DC because I was a legal secretary almost all my life. And I started the Sister Locks business. And then I was doing all these entertainment. I was giving other people work because it was just, it was coming to me. And then I just decided I can't do this. I don't want to do it like this. But I felt like it was a gift that God had presented to me, and I just didn't want to shut it. So I
Yeah.
said, "What do I love the most?" And I love women. I love women, Jay. I love Black women in particular. And so I said, so I would just do, stuff for women. Because I'm comfortable with women. I don't have to work as hard on the material. You're me and I'm you, blah, blah, blah. We can flow and I feel more comfortable. And then that just got to be too much. And so I just kind of moved on. But one of the things that I did was nephew Tommy had 50 comics standing. He had this event in South Carolina. I submitted a video and I was selected out of like 400 and something people. And it was just incredible because I'd only been doing this for like 6 months. But the good thing about that was that I needed a headshot and I needed a bio and I needed a website. And so that's when I really took it to another level. And I did it for a few years and then I just backed completely. And I just used the experience and the love that I have for humor in my everyday life, So
Mm.
now when you come on my tours, you get Charlotte Van Horn, comedian extraordinaire, you know, that's just as an extra added something, because that's just what I do.
I was going to ask you about that because so you're doing comedy. Tell me how you got into doing the tours because what you've done with so many people. I heard your name, and you are the one of the premier people in Panama, bringing people, helping them to relocate. So, how did you get into helping people relocate to Panama from comedy?
Went from comedy to I was a brand ambassador for Sister Locks. I did Sister Locks for about 10 years. Actually, Sister Locks, I give Dr. Cornwell her props. It retired me from corporate America. In
Mm.
5 years of doing Sister Locks part time, I was able to retire from corporate America. I have not worked for anyone else since January 5th, 2017 at 4 p.m.
Wow. Wow.
That
Yeah.
was it. And I've never looked back, and I love the life that I have. But what happened was my Alfredo is 9 years older than me. And, Alfredo and I bought a house here in Panama
He
12 years
looks
ago.
good. Hold on. I mean,
He's
he
a
looks
baby,
good.
look, he looked good. To me, I
Oh
said,
man.
my husband is still for so many years, and I thought it would change after a while. But I just would always, no matter where we were, Jay, I just always felt like my husband was the most attractive man in the room. And I still, after 30 something years, I think 32 years. Yeah, we've been together 32 years. I still believe so. He's so handsome. He's so handsome, and he's going to be 70 this year. He's going to be 70 in
That's
October.
what I'm saying. I was when you said
Yeah,
that, I was like, well, hold
yeah.
on now.
He
I'm
is 9 years
taking
older.
some notes. Next time I see him, I'm
Yeah.
gonna sit down and talk to him and say, what'd you do, brother? Because I'm trying to when I hit 70, I'm trying to be like you. That's so
He's going to be 70 years old. And so I knew that when we did come here to live, that I still had a few years to work. And so I decided to do Sister Locks. And to do Sister Locks here in Panama would have been like, I knew when I decided to do Sister Locks in 2012 was when I started, the year we bought the house. I knew that Panama didn't know anything about Sister Locks, that more than likely, even though my price would be drastically different here
yes.
in Panama, that the typical Panamanian would just not be my client. You know what I mean, with regard to Sister Locks. And so it was going to be an expat. And so I kept looking for something so I needed to start, building a relationship with expats in Panama
Hmm.
because there was no avenue
Yeah.
to meet Black expats in Panama. So I kept looking for Black expats in Panama, Black expats, anything. And I couldn't find it. And back then, my social media was like all about Facebook. That was like it. And finally, one day, the Holy Spirit said, Girl, if you don't just create the thing, okay,
Bring
just
the people to
build
you.
Black expats in Panama. It's not there. Stop looking. And so I did. May of 2019, I created a Facebook private group and a public page, Black expats in Panama. And Alfredo and I were coming back and forth to Panama. We used to be here about 4 weeks out the year, setting up things with our house. It was years before I rented my house out, and everything like that. And so I just decided when I came, I would just do little things about, hey, I'm in Panama. This is the mall, different things like that. So I started doing that. And little by little, I started to grow a platform. And so it took me about a year to get 200 followers in my group. Then we watched George Floyd murdered in front of us. And that was the moment. COVID, George Floyd, Karen in the Park, Donald Trump,
Mhm.
all collided that day in May in 2020. And it changed my life because then people start checking for what they could do outside of the United States. And I just started getting all of these requests to join the group. People were asking me, like, okay, what is it like living there? Are there Black people there? What is the police brutality like there? What is insurance like there? Healthcare? I, oh no, listen, I'm trying to do sister lots.
I got it.
So it wasn't my intention at all. Basically, how this ended up happening was I answered. I answered a call and I said, okay, I had already done like a tour here with women January 2020. So I had
Okay.
some boots on the ground type situation. And I said, I need to do a relocation tour. Already had an attorney to find a realtor. And I thought like in the beginning, if I have an attorney and a realtor, that's good. And we were able to get that together. And I put a tour out, put a relocation tour out. And I said, this tour is going to include Cologne. And I don't know, but the Cologne is like Black area.
Yeah.
It's like that area that Southeast DC used to be like, oh, don't go. They're gonna kill you.
Don't go.
I mean, it's gonna be bad. And I hadn't been to Cologne in 14 years, Jay.
Hmm.
But the Holy Spirit told me that Cologne has to be a part of this. That is how the cultural relocation tour was created. By that time, I had learned about the Afro-Panamanians who had built the canal. I got all that together through
Yeah.
my connection with SEMAP, the West Indian Museum. Um, and so when I learned that, I was like, wow, what really? Because I thought that Panama was just, you know, very light complected people with straight, long black hair with pom pom on their pollera or dress. And when I found out, there's a whole nother world. I just decided that my tour needed to show that. And so I put it out there. I mean, the tour was sold for $1,200 because we were in COVID.
Yeah.
We didn't know if we were going to ever open up again. We didn't know
Yeah.
when we were going to open up again, but we just said, let's do it. Put it out there and said, and pretty much the cancellation policy was like, listen, if you don't want to go, that's fine. Whatever you paid, you're giving your money back minus $50. But, if you feel, I mean, seriously, because we were in a space, right?
I got you. I
You
understand.
had to make it, you had to work around that COVID situation.
Yeah.
And it was something that was brand new. Wasn't
Yes.
like I had done it before, or but I didn't see any other Black people doing relocation tours to Panama. Actually, at that point, I didn't even know about relocation tours to Panama because that's not how I got to Panama. I got to Panama through family.
Mhm.
So, make a long story short, that is how I ended up doing um, Black expats in Panama. That is how
Wow.
that happened in the first year, Jay. Um, that group went from 200 to 2,000.
In the first
And we
year.
just in the first in that year between 2020 and 2021, between the May of 2020 when George Floyd, you know what, I'm going to start honoring George Floyd at our anniversaries, because our anniversaries are in May. And I just, oh, thank you, God. I'm going to start honoring him, having something, because, you know, his death, the murder of George Floyd was really what was the catalyst. Is that the word? Catalyst. It was the it
Catalyst,
catapulted,
catalyst, the catalyst,
catapult, catalyst
catalyst. There you go, catalyst. Yes.
of, yes, of what Black expats and Panama do.
How many people have joined you in Panama since then? Since the first year was 2000. So how many now?
Okay,
It's 2025.
that was when I say 2000, I'm talking about the Facebook group, not
Oh,
the number of people. So that was the
okay.
Facebook group. So we went
Okay.
from 200 in Facebook group, I'm sorry, to 2000 the first year. And then after that, and then since then, we just hit 10,000. And we could have hit
Okay.
10,000 a long time ago. But honestly, I think that we declined almost as many people as we accept. And that is why the Black Expats in Panama Facebook group is so successful, because we don't care about numbers. We care
Oh,
about
yeah, yeah,
quality. We care
yeah.
about like minded people. And we
Yes.
want our page to be we want our page to be positive, our group to be positive, and we take the time to vet.
Yeah, no, and you should, because me being in the travel space, I understand, because you just can't have any and everybody, because everybody does not understand your assignment and what you're here to do. And so sometimes you have people who are coming to just, they don't have anything else going on and they just want to cause problems. So I get it. I get it. Now with this, one, because I know people are curious, and I wanted to make sure everyone understood. We're working with you. You're taking a group to Ghana with us and to Brazil. That's so we were able to meet and connect. I came and hung out with you in New Year's Eve 2023, going into 2024, out on the boat. And so it was a pleasure meeting you and Alfredo. And there were people down there who knew me. I was surprised. So I was like, okay. But but how many people? Well, let me not ask how many people, because that's not so important so much. But how have you been able to help people relocate to Panama? Because again, after George Floyd, and then of course now with the resurgence of the new administration, people are looking to live abroad. And why would they choose Panama? When we come back, the conversation continues. But first, a special message from one of our sponsors. Join Darren and Destiny, twin explorers, on an epic journey across the African diaspora, from Ghana to Tanzania, Ethiopia, Brazil, and beyond. Their adventures uncover the beauty, history, and culture of these countries, changing the way children see the world. Dive into the adventures of Darren and Destiny now.
We would choose Panama because of its proximity to the United States, number one, because of the amazing infrastructure here. Panama is a very progressive small country. They choose it for the melanation.
Mm.
Panama is Black. Whether, Panama is, it's not Black, but it's not white. It's
Got it.
like a place where we fit in.
Mhm.
People speak Spanish to me all the time, assuming I am a natural born Panamanian.
Yeah.
It's not like you stand out. If anybody stands out here, it is the white North American or the white person with white skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes. You stand out.
Mm.
Okay. Other people do not stand out here. So I think that for us, that is a comfort. I think that compared to the United States, cost of living
Ah,
is
yes.
very attractive. Not as, and I'm just always honest, it's like, listen, Panama is not the least expensive place you can live in Central or South America. However, it is very good compared to what you would pay for the same thing in the US
Absolutely.
in
I
most
agree.
places.
I
Okay, so
agree.
that's
I saw it
definitely a
firsthand.
win.
Yeah.
It has a very attractive pensionado program. So a lot of the people who are moving here are seniors
Mhm.
or people who have pensions, because that's a very easy program to get into. So It's like a lot of reasons. There's a good, strong Black culture here. And I don't know that we knew that or people was really checking for that up until recently, but people like that too. And then most importantly, now with the with what Black expats in Panama have created here, it is a community. You
Okay.
come here and you already know people before you get here because you've been communicating on the Facebook group, or we have events that are like staple events that everybody is welcome to. Second Wednesday is the business to business. Third Wednesday is Welcome Wednesday. Everybody's welcome to just come and meet people in a safe environment. And the fourth Sunday is Cafe and Conversation, where we come and have fun and laugh at ourselves, talk Spanish, speak Spanish, primarily. So those are some of the reasons that people would choose Panama, I think, at this point, particularly Black people would choose Panama. What is we offer a for you, by you experience
Okay.
that no one else is offering. We offer every relocation tool that you need is you're going to get on this tour. You're going to meet the doctor, the lawyer, the realtor, the insurance broker, the moving company. Boom. That is the core five things that you're going to need to make a move and make informed decisions about making that move. But then on top of that, you're going to meet Black expats who are already living here that can say, girl, this is what's up. This is what happened when I got here. This is how I got here. This is where I live. This is my experience with Panamanian people, with other Black expats, with the language, with the cost of living. And this is, so you get to meet people who are already experiencing living here. Um, you get to be in an environment where you don't have to worry about asking no questions.
Mm.
So often we got to meet her what we talking about. In the United States, it's like we gotta regulate, what we are talking about and how we're talking about it, depending on who is there. No, no, no. This is for you, by you. You come here, you ask the questions that really not just the questions about, the logistics of living here, but the the environment. How is it like? What is it like for Black people living here? What is the experience? You get to talk about the experience that you're having in the United States, why you're looking to leave, and then you do that with a group of like-minded people from different parts of the world and mainly different parts of the United States.
Mhm.
But you learn from them because different people on the tour are in different places and phases of their research. So you got people that are asking questions that you like, I would have never thought to ask that question. Even if I had a one-on-one consultation with Charlotte or any other relocation specialist, I may not have thought to ask that question. So you get that. Then, because we're Black, we are just so full of flavor. You know what I'm saying? So
I
it's
saw.
like it's
I saw the
and
flavor
you know
firsthand.
exactly
I
what
was
I
there.
mean. Hey, so you come here, you laugh, you cry, you put on your I just think of Eddie Murphy when he doing a joke about when Black people get to court and say, well, your honor, the subject, you know what I mean, the suspect. When you get all technical, you can
Yeah,
get all
yeah.
technical, you can get down into the stuff that only we understand, you know
Yes.
what I mean, and you fall into that community first of all. Your group is your beat group tour number, whatever, and y'all are family. And so it's just Jay. At the end of the tour, we do where we let our clients talk about their experience because of course we do a lot of talking for the 5 days that we're here together. But you would have never, if you just didn't know that they were on a relocation tour, you would really think by listening to their testimonies that they were on a spiritual revival.
Mm.
That part. And that part, I really don't think has everything to do with me, but it just has to do with the magic. It just has to do with when we put things together and stir it. You know, the magic that the people bring, the magic that the team brings, the magic that Panama offers, and of course the magic of me. Okay.
I was gonna say I was coming back to that because whatever what you are the founder, you're the one who put people connect with. Yeah, they connect with the possibilities of relocating, but it's your energy that they resonate with, and that's what they say. It's I saw, I was there firsthand. I was around the group.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing if you were telling me and I didn't know firsthand. I was there. I had the encounter, and so because of that, it's going to continue to grow. And I see, and I appreciate you. One giving us insight into your life and to some very intimate parts of your life. And this is just one of the things that I've learned over the years, the importance of knowing someone's story. And what I hope is that as people hear your story, they know, they can sense that they can trust you with their journey for those who are looking to relocate to Panama. Because it's not like you're just somebody coming out here, I'm just trying to hustle some trips or whatever. This is much deeper. This is something where it has evolved into your purpose, or part of your purpose, because I believe that you've had different purposes in different phases of your life, but this is now what you're doing. And for you to, the timing has been perfect, and you're in a part of the world. It's like all of us have been given assignments to be in different parts of the world, and your assignment is in Panama. And to see the excitement of the Black expats in Panama, the people who relocate, the people, I'm on the calls. We're doing the info calls and everything for what's coming up in Ghana, and I'm watching. It is a family. You have a family. You've
Yes.
created this, and it's an embodiment of all of the years of work and sacrifice and hard lessons and cussing people out at the age of six, and telling jokes on the cruise ship and having to write jokes and being tired and being a legal secretary for all of those years. And what I hope is that you will be able to see the financial reward because you've earned it. You've paid your dues. And so that's the thing. And so, and I'll say this, never sell yourself short, because you deserve to be overcompensated for what you're doing. You're helping people
Wow.
you're helping them to be free, whether it be mentally free, whether it's free from the constraints of what they may feel is happening in the US. You are another bridge, and you're offering that. And it's all because of what Glassboro, New Jersey, that little girl in Glassboro,
Mhm.
New Jersey, who was born to a young 22-year-old mother whose father was off the
Mhm.
chain. All of these things. These are all the things that made you who you are. And I believe that God put in your life Mr. Alfredo, who stabilized things. He came along
Yes.
a little older, little more mature, but he wasn't phased. He was like, sister, look, hey, I'm good. he pumped the brakes. And so where a lot of times the
You
fellas are,
doing too much.
yeah, yeah. So that's why I say, and he's cool. When he's on the calls and everything, he's cool. He's laid back, but just know, it's a wonderful thing to see, and I'm excited to work with you, and I'm excited to. I got to get back to Panama and spend some time there. Now, for everyone who's
You.
watching, how can they find you? I know they can find Black expats in Panama, but run it down for everybody so they can find you, and get all of your details.
So before I say that, I just want to say that almost everything that you said about me just now, I could say about you. And I am very, very, very grateful, Jay, that our paths crossed. You are taking me to new areas, and you already know the relationships that I've established with people, the expectation that people have on our tours. And so you know how I feel about you, that I'm saying, okay, Jay, you're taking us because it's the first time for me.
I know.
So, I love what you're doing. Um, and Karen said to tell you hi. Karen and I, we talk about you all the time
Oh
because
wow.
I'm serious because Jay, you're just the package. You are. You're smart. You're an amazing businessman. You is so fine, just as handsome as you want to be. The whole package. But I think even more than that, and like you said, it's important for people to be able to have these conversations, because I think what the Ghana groups know that I'm
Yes.
taking is that they're able to see your heart, brother. And that is what I think is the most important thing, your heart, because your heart is in it and your heart is right. And that's what leads to the excellence and the commitment to excellence that you have in doing what you do. So I just want to thank you for being excellent and for being such an outstanding example for our brothers and sisters. You're doing great things. And, we did in 2024, we just about hit 7 figures in sales. So, baby, baby. Okay,
Congratulations.
so we
You
trying to
deserve
do
it.
that again. We try to repeat that again this year. But that part, that was just the blessing. It wasn't the goal. You know
I
what I'm
understand.
saying? It
I
is
understand.
the blessing, not the goal. So I'm grateful to God for that, and pray that He continues to bless me to be a good steward over everything that He has blessed me with. Okay? As far as people finding us, blackexpatsinpanama.net is just a great one-stop resource for getting in touch with us, finding, being able to send an email. We have our Instagram, our YouTube, our Facebook. Everything is available right there in that hub. We have a really good frequently asked questions section
Okay.
about the tours and about the company. All of our events, all of our tours are there. So we've tried to make that a one-stop shop and kind of cater to the people who have decided not to be on social media. Our social media networks are very busy, but there's a lot of people that just be like, I ain't with that. And
Yeah.
so the website is the best place for people to find us. You can Google us, Black Expats in Panama, Charlotte Van Horn, any of that, and we're always happy to hear from you.
All right, everybody. You've heard it from Shauna Van Horn, Black Expats in Panama. And please check her out on all of the social platforms and Black Expats in Panama.net, right? Is it .net?
.net, yes, sir.
.net. So make sure that you check out. And if you're interested in relocating or considering relocating to Panama, she is the person that you want to talk to. She's done the groundwork. She is there. She knows and she can point you in the right direction. And of course, she gave you a lot of nuggets to be able to make sure you talk to those who are successfully living in Panama. Check out
Mhm.
the cost of living, the difference in the cost of living in. For some people who are struggling in the U.S., you're trying to figure out how to maintain. You might discover that your U.S. dollar can now increase by 20, 30, 40, 50%. Just depends. At least go and see. And that's one thing that I would encourage you to do. You'll love Panama. You'll have a very minimal cultural, if any cultural issue at all. You shouldn't have any because it is very familiar. The beach is right there. The weather is great. It's a wonderful place. And make sure that you check Charlotte out and allow her to give you the information that you need. So, all right, Charlotte. Well, we're wrapping this up. I can't wait to see you. Tell Alfredo I said hello. And I look forward to getting back to Panama. And of course, I look forward to seeing you in Ghana as well and Brazil. But again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your story and continued success. This is just the beginning. I can't wait until you get 7 figures, 8 figures, wherever you want to go. And you know what? You're not even concerned about that. You're serving with excellence. You're serving with love, and the reward will come your way. All right. So thank you for
Thank you.
joining us today.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right. Take care.